Dr. Austin Nweze. He is a lecturer at the Pan-African University. Thank you very much for coming on the program. Yeah. I'm sure you watched the development, or that's if you're not at the World Economic Forum of Africa. And of course, the issue of infrastructure was key, and this is quite important in terms of having to revolutionize our industry. But let me just start with you. What's your take on this plan itself?
Well, it's a welcome development, and if we had done this, had this deliberate plan 20 years ago, we wouldn't have been where we are today. So even though it's coming late, and but it's a welcome development. And like you said, the basic thing is to look at the supply side of leadership, which is to go ahead and provide some of this infrastructure that we need. Let me give you an example. Power constitutes in any manufacturing, okay, be it tailoring and all that. Power constitutes about between 65% and 85% of the manufacturing component. So by the time you begin to put some of this infrastructure in place, a good road network from the farm and then to the city, so that it will reduce the travel times and all that. So you need to look at the transport infrastructure, the energy, and that is energy including power and all that. All those things need to be put in place, and then the industrialization will take off. And again, let me say that it's important to really not, because to develop Nigeria's economy, the international community will not be at the forefront. Okay, foreign investors will not be at the forefront. They will be looking at Nigerian entrepreneurs and how how committed they are to the economy. Let me give you an example. In the 90s, the former Belgian ambassador to Nigeria was asked by a nosy journalist. I said, why is the Belgian business not investing in Nigeria? And he said, look, when the Nigerian elites have the confidence to invest in the Nigerian economy, then others will join them. And that is very, very important. We need to encourage our domestic entrepreneurs to take the lead. Then others will now say, okay, you have a confidence in your economy, then you can. And the government can also jumpstart that. There could be a catalyst, to say, okay, look, we're ready to push this economy, and this and this and this we're going to do to support that.
All right. Quite interesting to note that Nigeria's billionaire businessman Dangote was actually speaking at the World Economic Forum, and he was of the view that African businessmen, entrepreneurs must take the lead in terms of having to invest. Just to buttress a point about the fact that we need to, kickstart this investment drive ourselves in order to attract other people, because it's when they see what we're doing that they want to come in. But just to take you back a little bit about the fact that you mentioned 20 years ago, this industrial revolution plan would have started. But if you look at the fact that we have invested a lot of money, for instance, in power, infrastructure, but nothing seems to have come out of it.
Yeah, it's lack of commitment on the side of the government and their agencies and the policymakers and all that. Nigeria is not lacking in policy making, okay? We have made beautiful policies and all that, but when it comes to implementation stage, there's no commitment. People put their selfish interests before the national interests.
Now, for instance, just to cut in a little bit, the former President Olusegun Obasanjo at a point in time said that we spent about $20 billion in the power sector, and we're still where we are.
Yeah, because one is that there's a cabal, okay, or a cartel, those that are bringing in generators, okay. I know that somebody I know very well told me that he brought some investors from Norway when the late Bola Ige, the Minister of Power, was a power minister. He met Bola Ige, and Bola Ige was excited, and then he said that they were going to invest about over $2 billion in the power sector. And that was when Bola Ige made that statement that in the next year or so that Nigeria was going to have 24-hour power. But what happened? According to the guy, in fact, he suspects that it's because of that, because people don't want this power thing to be solved. And that's why the man had to die the way he did. which is very unfortunate. So until you have the political will to deal with these people who have formed themselves into a cartel and have sworn that the power will not work in this country, until you deal through your policies and then commitment and not compromise, So on the part of government, being committed, and that's the only way you can sort out this power issue. Because, for the America and Europe for 50 years, they have succeeded in solving this power issue. But Africa, less than 40%, about 40%, have access to electricity, for instance. And without that, you can't really do anything because it's a major component of manufacturing. And without manufacturing, you cannot industrialize.
Now, do you think that we will be showing the right amount of commitment under the NRRP? Because we've had policies in the past, like you've mentioned. What do you think about this? Are we ready to give it the commitment that is required, despite all that we spent, all the investment that has gone into it? Do you think this will make the necessary changes that we're looking at?
Well, it depends on the leadership. We take a cue from Margaret Thatcher, when she was a prime minister, how she dealt with Labour. Britain, the economy was in shambles because the unions and all the people who didn't want the progress were, So she came and was decisive. She was focused. I said, look, no matter who you are, we are going to deal with this issue. And she was able to deal with the union. And today, the British economy is about the number 8 in the world. But they were lagging behind the rest of Europe in the past. So we need the commitment from the leadership to deal with it. If it costs you the presidency, if it costs you your position as a minister, even if it costs you your life, I don't pray so it will cost you your life, then we have to have that kind of commitment to make sure that we push this thing and put national interests before selfish and all that, and not compromise. Because there have been a lot going on. There have been plans and counter plans on how to move this economy forward. But we need to really be committed, not really in the area of investment. We don't even need to bring all the money ourselves. We can, invite people that have this money and have this technical know-how to make some kind of arrangement, and a MOU, a JVC, and all that, a joint venture, stuff, to make sure that we do this. But the government must be the catalyst, through their policies, through their commitment. Let me give you an example. I was, talking to someone recently, and I said, look, if government is serious to industrialization drive that they're trying to do, we have foreign reserve. Why don't we take maybe 30 billion and put it as guarantee and say, look, whoever wants to bring in businesses, manufacture, to help industrialize this nation, we have this as guarantee, just in case something goes wrong. So Nigerian entrepreneurs can actually have access to some of these international monies, because it could be cheaper and all that, because of the people don't have confidence. Okay, so you need to have some kind of guarantee. When government provides that kind of guarantees, then there will be confidence. The local entrepreneurs, domestic entrepreneurs, and the foreign entrepreneurs can also come in to join hands to begin to industrialize. And more especially, we need to close our borders so that, because all kinds of things are brought into this country, it's easier for people to bring in stuff than to manufacture. I have people, my clients, who are in manufacturing, and I know what they go through. And at a point, one of them had to shut down his manufacturing this thing, and was just importing. Okay, and again, the waiver that was given affected some of my friends and clients, because some waiver was given on steel, and then the guy, his business was what, about 2 billion business. He had to shut it down because of the waiver. So the thing is that government should not just focus on one Dangote. There should be out of the 200 or 170 million population and all that, there should be at least 5 million Dangotes around.
Perhaps that's why it's embarking on various programs to build entrepreneurs among young people to ensure that they start.
Dangote, the government is proud today as a success story, but there could be other people, other success stories. And we need to also showcase them and help them to be like Dangote. The space is big. Okay, I know the next guests that will come, Manish and Nagode, they have been doing a lot in the manufacturing sector and all that. So such people are not known except for this economic this thing, where Nagode is one of the companies that have been listed in Nigerian companies, you know, to support in this economic industrialization. Otherwise, nobody would have. So it's important that we look at what, again, let me mention that the SMIDEN, Small and Medium
Enterprises
Development Agency, yes, of Nigeria. Now, what happened? A few years ago, they did a study and found out that there are at least 2 products in all the 774 local governments of Nigeria where you can build a cluster of industries. And then, so that not only diversifying the economy, I'm also preaching decentralizing the economy. So with this now, any serious-minded government can pick up that and say, okay, what can you produce in different local governments so that you build economic activities can be going on. You don't need to come to Lagos to be a millionaire.
I want to believe this is part of the NRP because this issue has been ongoing in terms of how the 774 local governments in Nigeria can begin to build something from the grassroots.
There's a document already. Yes, there's a document already on that. And all they need to do is pick it up and see those areas. For instance, in my community, in my local government, we have Salt Lake that can, during the Civil War, that was the Biafran Nigerian Civil War. That was what the salt that was sustained, that region, okay? And I went to, to the Ministry of Mineral Resources to ask them, why can't you people look into this? And they're aware of it. But they told me, one of the officers told me that it's more expensive. It's cheaper to get salt from the Red Sea and refine here than to mine that one there. So you find that, yes, there are some things that you would do, and even though it's more expensive, but for national interest, for national destiny,